Rich Eisen joins us. Hi, honey. How are you?
What's up? How are you? Yes, thank you, Chris, for pointing out what I bring every day as a salary. Thank you for saying that.
No problem.
And that's kind of important.
Well, just today specifically because it's payday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, once every 2 weeks. I'm a bi-weekly bringer.
Of course.
Is what I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing.
As long as that direct deposit hits, it's all good.
Is it
What's up,
beginning
How
to
are
feel
you?
a lot like Christmas in Cleveland, Rich?
It's cold out. It's not me for this one before. It's a slate gray sky here in Cleveland, Ohio, the Midwest. But yeah, I'm fired up. We're meeting with the Ravens later today, and I'm just looking over all these notes and how there's, as we all know, a very serious history between these two teams since, what I think I have it written down here. Oh yes. One city took the team from another. I wrote that down.
Good.
So that happened, and it's pretty cool. There's a Harbaugh involved. That makes me happy, and I'm getting to see him later. I might hug him and just hug him so hard and tight that his brother feels it wherever he's walking around. So I'm excited about it. It's gonna be great.
Rich Eisen joins us here on the Rich Eisen Show. It is his show, so I guess he's calling in for that reason. Suzy Shuster in for him. Did you wear a Michigan sweatshirt when you walked into the building in Ohio last night? That was my question.
No, I did not. I'm trying to be respectful, and I'm trying to save it all up for Canton in August. I'm just. It's still too soon for a lot of people around here. I think it's still too soon. And to be very honest with you, there's still a chance that we see them again in about 3 weeks. So I need to sort of take it one game at a time, hope for the best, and if we see each other again, then we'll deal with it at that point. But no, I did not.
All right. I'm surprised a little bit. I thought maybe you would have come in with the hammer, but then I know sometimes you like the what was it, the golden hammer?
The velvet?
The velvet hammer.
Touch, the velvet hammer?
Right?
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I know he was right up your style. So, Rich, let's talk about the game last night. Let's talk about Brock Purdy, the artist formerly known as Mr. Irrelevant. What did you think when you watched him last night?
I just saw a guy who, you were texting me during the game, Suze. It looks like he's been there 7 years. I mean, it's really unbelievable. And yes, you could sit here and say it's a system and the defense is lights out. I mean, the game, in my opinion, turned last night 7-3. The Seahawks took a huge punch at the very beginning, and we're surviving a lot of body blows to make it a 7-3 game with them getting the ball back, and they could have gotten the ball back on the Niners side of the field had Condre Diggs actually come up with that interception. He let it bounce off his hands. Seattle did get the ball back, and the Niners, Dre Greenlaw, knocked it out of Travis Homer's hand and placed it inside the Seahawks 5. Instead of it being a 4-point game or maybe even a 1-point game going into halftime being 7-6, it was 14-3. And it was just too much sledding for Seattle to come back from because Purdy didn't turn it over. He also had complete awareness of when there was pressure on him. There was the only, I guess he would have turned it over had Diggs squeezed the interception instead of it bouncing off his hands. But it really was remarkable to watch Purdy make the throws on third down, for him to pick up the first down and essentially salt the game away last night by having the decision. It was placed in his hands on 3rd and 1, needing the first down to wrap it up. They called a play where he would either flip it out to McCaffrey or run it himself, and he had to make the decision. And he did, and it sounds simple, it looks simple, but it isn't when you're making your first career start in Seattle. Even one third down throw that would have, helped wrap it up had Ayuk grabbed it. It did look like he had a lot of grass in front of him or turf in front of him on 3rd and short. Purdy hit him right in the hands on the move, and he was on the move, and Ayuk was on the move. He just dropped it. The guy's beyond impressive. He's not making the mistake, and he's just keeping everything on the tracks, and then bringing the train to the station when it's put on his shoulders or his legs or his arm or his brain or his heart. I really like what I'm seeing. And now the Niners have a shot at catching Minnesota. That's the, I guess, biggest drama that's left, because I don't think they're gonna catch Philadelphia. But can they be the 2 seed? And if they're the 2 seed, then it sure looks like Purdy is going to have 2 home playoff games. So that would mean the only time he goes on the road in a must-have game from here on out is potentially Philadelphia. And I mean that is the reality of it, and the kid can bring him there. I don't think there's anybody who can sit here and say he's going to suddenly deteriorate. That would be shocking to me.
Yeah, he started the game 11 for 11, didn't throw an incomplete pass until 10:49 to go in the second. And that double pump fake where he just looked around, George Kittle, as we said, was reading the newspaper down the middle. But it shows you just how comfortable they are with him, Kyle Shanahan is, that they're going to let him go out there and run a play like that with the 12s in a vertical building. It just shows that they just think this 22-year-old has a veteran's head on his shoulders.
They definitely, I mean, that play call is a perfect example of their comfort level with him, and how, practiced they are on it. They might have been working on that for 2 weeks and then popped that thing out right there. And then they were in another play where the backup tight end was the one who released down the field, and Purdy found him. And again, these are great play calls, and they're well practiced and they're well executed. But at the very end, the kid has got to plant, make the throw, and make the layup, and he hasn't blown any of them yet. And like I said, now they've got that home playoff game for the first weekend of the playoffs. And if they continue to perform as well as they are, and Minnesota trips up in a way, then they could be the 2nd seed. Where, my gosh, I mean, is it Dallas that goes to Philadelphia? Could it be a back-to-back? Could it be a back-to-back home date for Purdy against the Commanders, the Giants, the Lions? Could be the same Seahawks team before the Vikings stroll in there. I mean, I think those are definitely very winnable playoff games for a team that's playing as well as they are in every phase, and that includes the kid at QB.
Is it too soon to ask if there's a quarterback controversy in San Francisco, Rich? I know you love a controversy.
So. Well, you're right. But Dan asked me that question earlier, DP, about the future of it. And it really does depend on how Purdy, how well he plays when the chips are down. Again, the year that they made the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, if you remember, that was they had a playoff game at home against Minnesota, and they essentially ran the ball every down. They had very little confidence, and much was made about that, about how Garoppolo handed the ball off the entirety of the second half, and that they basically had, their hands on 10-2 on the wheel and a foot on the brake during a playoff game with their quarterback. And we'll see how they play it with Purdy, if they feel comfortable enough, if he is going to wing it around if they need to. And again, Debo will be back. We'll see how it does play out between now and the rest of the season. But if he goes on a deep playoff run with them, and the locker room falls in love with him, and they dig him, and they also see how he can perform when he's got a full season under his belt, practicing and training camp reps with the ones and things like that, then maybe they do keep him there. And Trey Lance is the backup, and they go into battle like that. Because, again, and it's a similar situation that's playing out with the Jets. If the GM who drafted the quarterback highly and the coach who was attached at the hip of the highly drafted quarterback, if those guys are not on the hot seat because they missed on the quarterback who was drafted so highly, or the quarterback they drafted so highly has now been surpassed by somebody on the roster that was either, in the case of Purdy, drafted last, or the case of Mike White, undrafted and acquired elsewhere by the team, I know he was drafted by the Cowboys, but the Jets didn't draft him. If the owner's fine with it and the coach and the general manager have a winning team around them, then they'll make the move. I mean, there's no sacred cows. There really isn't in the NFL. So if Purdy goes on a run and they trust him and they can open the offense up and he might win a playoff game for them, then why can't he be the starter in 2022? I mean, it's a realistic possibility as we're sitting here one game into Week 15.
So you opened the door to talk about the Jets. So I can ask you, how are you doing, honey? How are you doing? How are you handling the news? I said to the guys that like he gained it's like losing a daughter, getting a son, because you got a really good left-handed starter today. But I would have imagined that maybe the Jets news may have made you a little ill.
Well, no, I'm fine. I want to see what Mike White can do. I want to see what he can do, and I want to see him out there in a consistent basis. But this is now the second time, he's gotten hurt, and I hope that's not an indication of anything. I think he's tough as nails. We saw it last week, but last year I wanted to see more out of him, and he got hurt in a Thursday night game that he came in like a house of fire into, and he couldn't complete it. And now it's happened again. This time around, though, it's none of his fault. He got basically sawed in half by the Buffalo Bills and Matt Milano. But here's the deal: like the coach said that they needed to hit the reset button with Zach Wilson, and Mike White came in and showed him how it's done. And so has, by the way, Brock Purdy. It's the same offense. It's the same concept. It's the same ideas. And if Purdy could do it in San Francisco and Mike White can do it in New York, then Zach Wilson should be able to do it there too. And if he did need this reset, and if he did absorb the right things and is bringing the right mindset and attitude and game to the field, then he should win this football game. And it's time to do that. And if Zach Wilson is going to be the future in New York, or have an opportunity to be the future in New York, which he says he still feels he is, because again, like I said, it's San Francisco showing there are no sacred cows at quarterback or anywhere in the NFL if somebody else is going to take an opportunity and run with it. So this is it for Zach. This is it. If he wants to be the future, he now has another opportunity to do it. He's very lucky because Mike White has captured the locker room and the fan base and the fancy of all in New York who root for the Jets. So now Zach has gotten that opportunity back, and let's see what he'll do with it. Personally, I wish it was on the road because, teams bond better on the road and you can focus more on the road. And if he throws a couple at Garrett Wilson's feet, or he tries to do too much and throws one of those many balls up for grabs like he's done in the losses to New England, he's going to hear it. And then we'll find out if he's cut out for New York, because he's going to hear it from Jets fans. It's going to be loud. Certainly if the Lions come in, of all teams that could beat them, it's the Detroit Lions, which is who are playing terrifically. And we've talked about on the show how well they're playing. But when it comes to the New York fan base, these are still the Detroit Lions. I mean, like I'm looking at my notes for the Browns and the Ravens game, and here it is. I just passed off on this note. The Browns, if they lose on Saturday or any of their remaining games, would have a 21st season since returning to action in Cleveland with a losing record, 21. And the team that's right below them on that list are the Detroit Lions. So it doesn't matter how well they're playing. The Lions are a franchise that's supposed to be, in the Jets' mind's eye, even worse than the Jets, and in dire straits more than the Jets. If they come into this building and mop the floor with a Jets defense that might be without Quinnen Williams here, and Zach Wilson can't perform well, he's going to hear it. And it could be particularly ugly for him if he can't handle it.
Hey, Rich, more importantly,
big game for him.
More importantly, are you worried that you're becoming the kiss of death when it comes to takes? Because, a few weeks ago, you were so, boisterous about saying you never wanted to see Zach play quarterback again for the Jets, and here we are.
Nope.
And now he's starting. So are you worried that you're,
Typical of you, Chris, to not only be, first of all, what a glass house the cooler of the Rich Eisen Show is throwing a stone from right now, okay?
My teams
That's
have won a
number
lot,
one.
so I'm just,
Oh, okay. Well, with you physically being there and sitting there?
I was there in
is that right?
2018 when the Red Sox won, so that ended the cooler talk. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, very good. Look, but you misconstrued what I said. It's not that I said I don't want to see him start.
I can go back and look at the video.
No. I said I
Colonel
don't care
Jessup.
if he doesn't start another game for them. Okay, there's a difference in that. The fact that I'm done with him and I don't want to see him anymore. I said I don't care if he doesn't start another game for the Jets because I liked what I saw in Mike White. He found a Wilson on the field to the point where we were talking the other day because Coop asked if Brock Purdy could be Rookie of the Year offensively, and we're like, well, Garrett Wilson is currently the front runner for that. That's not Zach Wilson finding him. It's Mike White finding him. Elijah Moore, we needed in terms of proof of life when Zach was a quarterback. He had to hold up a newspaper to see what day it was to make sure that he was still alive. Okay? So Mike White has shown how it can be done. And so I said at the time, I don't care if Zach doesn't start another game for him. He now is starting another game for him.
Oh, okay.
And so be it.
Are you pacing right now? Are you walking across the? I mean, I can. Yeah.
I am pacing right now. Yes. I got up from the chair. I was calmly sitting in my chair, talking about Brock Purdy. Yep. This got me out of my chair. I am in fact pacing now.
Honey, do me a favor. Take a moment, compose yourself, and talk to us in your New York voice. And address this to Zach Wilson for what you're hoping to see this weekend, please. Give us a little, just direct to Zach. Yeah, Rich, it's just you and Zach.
Rich,
there's nobody else watching.
It's 1998. Yeah. It's 2 a.m. You're driving home to your apartment in New York City, and you're like, hey, I'm going to call into the fan. And then let it rip.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
This is Dickie Eyes from Staten Island,
Hey,
first time, long time. Let's go to Richie on his cell phone.
Okay, here we go.
Richie, you're on.
I've got to comport myself. Long time listener, first time caller. It's Rich from Staten Island calling. Listen. Zach Wilson has got to get his head out of that spot where his sun doesn't shine.
Hey.
Because now's the time to show that he doesn't have this thin skin from Utah. Okay, you're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. It's time to get out there and show everybody how you can play ball. Because otherwise, get out. I don't want to hear from you anymore. It's time for even Flacco. This team can win now. This guy couldn't do it before. Of course, Mike White is going to get sawed in half. Forget it. It's time for Zach to do it. Otherwise, get out of here. How's that?
Nice.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think if he had had that accent when we met, we'd have 3 kids now? That's my question.
You probably have 6.
That was rough.
Hey!
Huh?
You probably have 6.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you, when I first started doing TV, I would say tournament.
I remember that.
Tournament, NCAA tournament. Like when I was up in Redding, California, that's how I would say, let's go to the NCAA tournament, to the point where I had to sit down and write the word tour on my script, T-O-U-R, and just underline it. So I started to say turn, T-U-R-N, is when I started scripting it, T-U-R-N-ament, because I'm a professional. I'm still pacing.
I understand. Hey, Rich, relax. Hey, because we do have latest news from Dallas. Have you seen the stuff from Dallas this morning?
Nope.
Oh, baby. It looks like Odell Beckham is going to the Star. Jerry Jones last night to USA Today. Odell is going to join us. There's a good chance he will, with the complete goal of getting ready for a playoff game or two. And then I'll look at the future, but mostly of it being about now.
He has wanted Odell Beckham Jr. He has been focused on Odell Beckham Jr., Rich.
Why wouldn't he?
Woo, woo, woo.
Why wouldn't he? I love it.
Woo, woo, woo.
This makes him even more must-see television. And then you want to just, so they're going to really throw him in the mix in a playoff game for the first time? Is that really what they're going to do?
In Tampa?
He's a Super Bowl winning lead pipe wielding professional, Rich. Okay,
that is true. He would have been. We saw it with our own 2 eyes. He would have been the Super Bowl MVP last year if he didn't somehow hurt himself again.
But as Hoskins just told me, it's not official yet. It's not.
But don't you think that Jerry Jones is so irritated that everyone's talking about Brock Purdy and everyone's talking about the Eagles? He does not like it when people aren't talking about them Cowboys.
That is correct. And this definitely gets everybody talking about him. But, I think there's more to it, as I think we all agree, is than a PR move. I mean, if the guy is the same Odell Beckham and can do that, you know how he can just flip a field and create problems, and that just will only open the door more for a running game. And you want to talk about, again, if he is as healthy as before, one of the top playmakers in the NFL when he's healthy. And you know how I feel about Tony Pollard. That gives them two home run hitters, where they could just take the ball and see you later. But again, getting people up to speed is one thing. Getting them up to speed in a win-or-go-home game, I don't know, man. I don't see that. But hopefully, the now means they do get him out there. I would love to see him in like week 17 or 18, just knock the rust off, and then what would that make them? The guaranteed Saturday night game, right? Mm-hmm. For wild card weekend.
1,000%, especially if it's Tom Brady. Like, come on,
no doubt.
Yeah, Brady hosting Odell and the Cowboys would be that would break televisions. That would be. So congrats, TJ, on that in advance. Congrats in advance.
You know, Rich, I'm wearing a T-shirt now because the new Irv was coming on, and I have all the great 88s on it. You know, we got Drew and Michael and Dez and CD, and maybe I'll find a way down here to put OBJ somewhere.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.